offense at a fairly elite rate. I just think he looks so strong now. He looks like a grown man. You know, he's only like 40-some goals behind Michael Nylander's career. Like, he's really putting together a nice little run of hockey
and
here.
I did play with his dad. Talented guy.
Yep.
But you want to talk about some nights disappearing or some nights just not having it. That was Michael.
Yeah. Apple doesn't fall far, that whole thing. So William Nylander now has 19 multi-goal games and Michael had 18. So that's pretty impressive that he's 26 years old and starting to, Michael is a good player.
All right, let's go to our second Kippers Clipper behind the legendary Bob Barker. That's great. We're going to clip him the rest of the day, and he'll always be behind Bob Barker.
That's right. That's good.
Okay,
Good start to the week.
Let's go to Sheldon on his overall thoughts of the hockey game, and then we'll get into his thoughts on Wee Willie.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're thrilled that we get the win and, get 2 points. I thought we still did a lot of good things in the game that help us ensure that we get 2 points. I thought we did a lot of things that were not good in the game that made the game a lot harder on ourselves than it needed to be. It's been quite some time since that's been the case. I thought today was not indicative of the type of game we've been playing. And as a result, the game was chaotic.
Okay. They're not all oil paintings.
No, they are not. And sorry, boys, I was just trying to, I was a little quiet there. I was trying to figure out our YouTube situation. We're now live on YouTube. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we're now live on YouTube as well. So I thought you kind of mentioned how it was a Leafsy win.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it was very 2019, 2020, early parts of 2021 type of win where their defensive game has been a lot better in this stretch, and that's been a big turning point for them. It was not there. The goaltending's been really good for them in this stretch, and that was certainly not there, but their skill guys did what they needed to do. So I think I kind of agree with Sheldon on that.
Sheldon saying that, like, because of the way they played, the game looked chaotic. He's right when you look back at some of the games they've played where, like, not much has happened. They just beat the Kings. They just beat them. That was kind of then the game ended. Like, it wasn't like drama both ways, like this one disallowed goal, not disallowed, 9 goals in the contest. It feels like when they're not as tight defensively, the game gets a little wonky on them. One thing I did want to note is a Sam McKee note in here that the Leafs have scored 64 goals since November 1st. Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, and Marner have 42 of those 64 goals. That's 66% of the goals from 4 guys. So pretty top heavy, this group right now, not getting a lot of depth support scoring.
But it's built that way.
It is built that way.
This is the way it needs to be.
Yes. If you don't get that percentage of scoring from those 4 people, you're not going to win.
I don't know if you saw the Leafs bottom 6 on Saturday night.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to get a lot of goals from that.
Yeah.
Any Joey Anderson thoughts from the group?
Yes. I remembered he was playing when he was tripped by Vladar late in the third period.
Played 10 minutes. I was surprised by that.
That's incredibly shocking to me.
But just enough to let those 4 other guys rest.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Really?
That's a really good point. But you and I have had this conversation on other sides of it. Maybe you don't want to do that all year where it's like, hey, 4 guys go get the win, but there's no alternative to that. So
So if you're saying that mid-December, what are you saying mid-April?
I'm saying thank God they traded for 2 good depth players or they'd be in trouble.
Every other night for 2 months.
Yeah, it's going to be a big ask. Over the course of 82 games, those 4 players, those 4 elite players, mind you should have 1 or 2 of them going every night. And, there's going to be some nights where it doesn't happen, but it's not very often. And so far, the plan has worked. We'll see if it can sustain a whole year in playoffs, but playoffs.
Okay, let's go to Sheldon on Nylander's 5-point night.
I think he's been consistent with with his play on offense and how he pushes the chances that he generates. I think over the years we've had this conversation a number of times, and last season he set kind of a new standard for himself. And I think, as I've said in the past, he's got a a long ways to go still in terms of what his potential is and what he can do. And you're seeing that. And he's producing at a higher clip. He's been very consistent to start the season here. To me, when we look at it, there's, I think Willie can and should be in that top elite tier of players in the league. And he's working his way there. So I think that's, in terms of his play with the puck, that's it. Like all of our players, there's a whole other side of it on the stuff without the puck defensively, and that's a whole other area to discuss and talk about. But when it comes to the offense and consistently making plays and helping our team win games, he's been very good there.
You can't argue anything Sheldon just said.
No, but it is noteworthy, I think, that he can't just say he's been great. You can't overpraise for fear, I think, of Nylander backing it off, of resting on his laurels and now having a 10-game nap.
It really does feel like every compliment to William Nylander has to be backhanded.
Right.
Like it really does. Like it just, that whole
Yeah,
clip
but
there.
that's on him the last 5 years of being this ultra talented guy that just didn't show up.
I love that assessment.
Consistently.
Yeah,
like
you've done this, you've made this bed.
You've made this bed. You don't deserve the benefit of his doubt just yet.
To his credit.
Not on a 5-point night mid-December with everything we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, and in their playoff games that they have played, and they're
been okay.
He's been good in the playoffs.
He's been okay.
Yeah, I mean, compared to a lot of other guys.
If you're talking about providing enough offense to keep you close, I'll give you that. If you're talking about influencing a series, then they've all failed in those first rounds.
Yeah, there's not been one guy where you felt was dragging them to a win in any contest or anything. Yeah. Last year he was good. The year before I think he was very good. But last year he was good. But you're right. So that's interesting though, because you could almost book it now.
Yeah.
Okay, 5-point game. How many does he get over the next 10 games? Let's keep an eye on that to see if there is okay, now I can relax moment.
Just in terms of, where that ceiling is for Willie. And I don't know if it was 3 or 4 years ago, I made a comment and I remember it. I said that this guy will have opportunities to win Rocket trophies for best goal scorer, right?
Yeah.
And he has that
Richard,
Rocket Richard.
Yeah.
He has that ability.
Yeah.
He's got that shot that can beat you from 30 feet out.
Yeah.
And he is a natural finisher.
For sure.
Whether or not he's dipping a shoulder in and sliding that backhand five hole.
Do you think he meant to go 5-hole in that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I do. Absolutely, I do. He's on pace for now, is it 43, 44 goals?
It's in the 40s, whatever the number is.
When you see him putting in 30, 35 goals, to me, that's just enough to get by.
Yeah.
That is not what Sheldon's talking about a ceiling and a bar. I think he should be minimum 40 plus every year.
Yeah.
And on a career year, he should be a 50-goal scorer.
Yeah, 50 is not out of the question this season. You're right. I can see that from his ability. It hasn't quite come together, and because we've had those dips where he has 10 games where you don't hear his name for a while. So
he's now 8th in the league in goals. 9th in the league at goals with 17, and he is top 20 in points with 33. So I'd say this is the most production they've got.
Yeah.
What did he get? 80 points last year. I think it's heading in the direction to go even up from that this year as it did last year.
Yeah.
So not all guys have the meteoric rise. Like you measure him against the guys that are on his team, right? Like look what Marner's done, look what Matthews done. Tavares has been consistent to get around 85, 90 points every year. Not everyone has a linear development in terms of
best
production.
year point-wise?
Who? Nylander?
Yeah. Is it 70?
No, it was last year, wasn't it?
67?
No, he was higher than that last year.
I don't know. 38. He had 37 goals?
He had 80 points last year.
Okay.
So he jumped. So he went,
tough because there's those weird years in there with half seasons and stuff, right?
What was his goals total?
34 goals and 46 assists.
34 was career high for him.
Yeah. At this point, that number should be higher.
Yeah.
With his skill level.
Yeah.
Listen, 34 for me with that talent.
You know what?
Not enough.
My 2 cents on Nylander as a finisher is in tight. Sometimes he's not like he's a shooter finisher. He shoots it past goal. He's got a hard shot. He places it really effectively. You know, not always I don't know if he's a great shootout shooter. It's something I would have to look up, but it doesn't strike me as one of those type of guys. So there's more goals to come. He gets a ton of chances. I think Sportlogic had him as one of the leading breakaway getters in the league.
Is that a flattering stat?
Well, Johnny Gaudreau leads the league over the past 4 or 5 years, so it's stylistic, we'll say.
So when Sheldon talks about Nylander getting up there with the elite, and we are talking about wingers here, right? Are we not?
We are.
So who does he speak of now?
Panarin.
Well, Mitch Marner's maybe the best winger out there right now, complete winger.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, in terms of elite production, though, like I don't know in terms of for goal scoring. Or do you mean points?
I'm talking about talking about the capabilities to be up and spoken of in this manner.
So here's the right wingers in the league that he is behind in points. He's behind Mitch Marner, Mikko Rantanen, David Pasternak, and Nikita Kucherov, and that's the end of the list.
Okay, and I've said
Yeah.
and I've said all along, I wish he can turn himself into a poor man's Pasternak.
Yeah, he's that. He's definitely a poor man's.
I'd say he's middle class. Like he's getting there, man.
Yeah.
Middle class.
He's getting there.
But what he's missing is Pasternak's consistency, his work ethic, and his edge. That nasty. I could spear you as much as I could beat you with a skilled play.
I'll hear you on the edge part of that, Kyper, but I think if we were watching David Pasternak every single night, we'd be having a lot of conversations the same we do about Willie in terms of his having nights off. Like, it's not like he's been dominant.
Not even
every night.
close. Not even close.
All right.
Yeah. Not for me anyways.
Yeah.
Listen, I think there would be
I don't think he's come close to taking the nights off Willie has the last 3 or 4 years. And then we're talking about the playoff runs too, which you don't want to put any credit behind.
No, I'm not.
Right? Let's not mention that.
Yeah, has nothing to do with it.
Okay. But
he's been good in the playoffs, Willie.
Right?
In
That's
7 games.
If Willie can come underneath that, now all of a sudden you've got yourself a player.
Yeah.
And Pasternak, or I'm sorry, if we're talking about high elite players, like Panarin, I don't know what's going on with Panarin, but last time I checked, probably his head coach hasn't been too happy with him.
Cash and checks.
And he's 11-6, by the way, if I'm not
money.
Mistaken.
We do have another Keith on Nylander. If Willie needed as much motivation, do we want to? Let's do that.
I don't know if I put that clip in. It's in there. Get good.
I think it's a combination of things. It's a combination of. I mean, he's maturing. I think over time you get sick of having the coach in your ear all the time, and you want to get that sorted out yourself before the coach has to come and get there. I also think our players internally, amongst themselves, are pushing each other. Those top guys, they're pushing each other. And like I said, Willie, I think has potential to be in that top tier. Austin and Mitch have really established themselves in that very exclusive top tier in the league. Willie should be right there hanging with those guys. And he's pushing himself, and then they're all pushing one another, which I think is how that group gets to even greater heights.
That should give you everything you need to know on how Sheldon's been riding Willie Nylander the last few years to get to another level.
Willie deserves some credit for sticking it out and not saying, get me out of here. Because Sheldon's been there, the same voice all over him. Willie, like poking and prodding, trying to get the most. And he's just kind of, okay, all right, new day.
Yeah.
He takes it pretty good. So deserves some credit there.
And again, I mean, Sheldon's nailed it that a coach can only go so far with that messaging before he gets shut down or shut out. And it has to come within your peer group in the dressing room. Yeah. So Sheldon doesn't have to do it now. Mitch can do it, or Austin can do it, or Morgan Riley can do it, because those guys have got that in the room.
Yeah, they've been with each other long enough that you should be able to take a little bit of ribbon from the guys.
Yeah, and I think there's probably a natural competitiveness with that you're in that core four, right? Like, you know that you're part of that. And seeing all those guys play so great over the past, since this point streak started, which feels like, I think it was Remembrance Day the last time they lost in regulation. So that's been a long time. When you're seeing everybody else dominate in the big four, you want to be part of that. And it's natural motivation. You're getting better. The puck's going in. It's a recipe for success.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
What'd you guys think about the whistle down goal? Were you convinced that that would have been waved off Saturday night?
The squeaker through Murray?
Yeah.
I was confused. I thought that whistle meant end of play and it was end of conversation. I didn't know the rule that you knew. Did you know it, Barney?
You know, if I'm being 100% honest, I didn't. I knew it the other way, the old intent to blow, like the ref could blow it, you know, say I meant to blow the whistle by that. I didn't realize that a whistle could blow and the puck could go in and the ref could go, wow, it was still moving, like a jump shot or something.
If it's a continuous motion.
You did know that.
I did know that.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. So
I thought Keefe did a great little breakdown on it if you want to.
Yeah, let's have a listen.
The rule's pretty simple. I as soon as I saw it back right away, I said, "Oh, that's a goal." The way the rule is even if the whistle goes, if there's a continuation of the play and the puck lands in the net, it's a goal. If that puck stopped on the goal line and they come and poke it, then it's not a goal. That's the way that I understand the rule. So for me, it was pretty straightforward. No sense complaining about it. Just move on.
they got it all dialed in, eh? The video coaches there getting goals overturned. That one they didn't stress out about.
So,
which leads us to, you want to finish that off or you want to go to Matt Murray?
That's what I was going to say.
Okay. Which leads us to, kind of
maybe
ugly goal. Not too many we've seen on Matt Murray. We could pick out a dozen of those type of goals last year on Matt Murray as an Ottawa Senator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we need a searchlight to find him this season.
You know, there's a piece of me that's like, oh, it's a couple in 2 games now. Let's hope we don't need the Jack Campbell season where everyone says Vezina in the first half of the year and all of a sudden it starts to slide away.
Let's
tighten it up again.
This is precisely the reason I have not even considered a close to a victory lap on Matt Murray.
Well, no. You've hinted at
I've hinted. When he's playing well, how can you not be happy about it?
Right.
But I'm not jumping from the rooftops here. This is a day-to-day, game-to-game situation about him. And, that was his first really bad one, right? Since Montreal? Since the opening night? I guess you could talk about Tampa wasn't great.
So your mileage may vary on that one. I didn't love it. But
yeah, but I thought he was pretty bad on Saturday night, no?
Yeah.
No, not great, but not bad enough where you sunk the game.
This very Jack Campbell last season, though, where it was like, it was, they got one more than the other team. Campbell could have been worse. But yeah, no, again, you're allowed to have some bad games. No one plays great 82 times or 40 times, whatever goalie plays. So not going to panic about it, but not a great show.
Yeah. And the other good part, according to Daryl Sutter, was you got the officials on your side.
Got no time for this at all. Sutter said something about the officiating set.
Let's have a listen to Daryl Sutter talk about the officiating after Saturday night's hockey game.
Well, that's one thing I learned a long time ago, Eric. When you're in Chicago all those years, when you play and you come into Toronto, you know what goes on.
You know what goes on.
Do you?
But this is 2 games in a row. You guys had a lot of penalties.
So then write about it. You think they're all penalties tonight? I don't.
How about Daryl telling Eric Francis
story ideas?
Yeah, story ideas. Eric, come here. I got one for you. Write about this.
I would love a buddy cop movie with Eric Francis and Daryl Sutter. Those two seem to have just a splendid relationship. I love those guys.
It's just not true.
Okay. Do you remember a lot of the penalties Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
none of them stand out to me as egregious.
I think post-game Hockey Night in Canada reflected on them. I think the only one that I think was soft for me anyways was Backlund's shove in the corner.
Right.
A little soft. But other than that, I think, the
Huberdeau high sticks a dude in the head, no T. What do you want me to do?
There's a lot of, hey, control your stick here.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just not true. I mean, statistically, penalties called against Toronto, for Toronto. These guys are not from Toronto. Frankly, if I'm not mistaken, don't most people not from Toronto hate Toronto? Isn't that a thing? Am I,
That would be a thing.
Okay, so
yeah,
but sour grapes don't blame the officiating.
Hate us because they ain't us is a big part of that.
Who's it? What's that?
Hate us because they ain't us is a big part of
Yeah,
that.
I believe that's a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was more than just a Toronto thing. He totally ripped his team for losing in Columbus the night before. He probably thought that they were closer or better.
You're onto something here.
Let's deflect a little bit off of my team.
Actually deserve better.
What the problem is, let me just throw the focus on the officials and we'll get out of Dodge here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I like that. It's kind of like Herdman saying F Croatia. You know?
Is it?
No one talked about their crappy first game loss. Everyone was like, oh, he's talking about F Croatia. And maybe hopefully it goes better for Sutter.
Grab first game loss is the highlight of their tournament.
Yeah. You know what? The one thing that I am starting to kind of feel for is that this double minor, we got to get rid of the double minor. I am not a fan of the double minor for high sticking.
When there's blood.
Yeah, when there's blood.
It is so arbitrary that like someone has like thinner skin or something. So we're like, now it's an extra penalty.
You bit an old cold sore,
Yeah.
and now we go to a double minor. Like I can break your jaw
Yeah.
and still get a 2-minute penalty.
Funny enough,
but
when
I
my
can-
jaw broke,
I
there was
can-
no blood.
I can just absolutely, graze you,
Yeah.
and that's 4 minutes.
You know, that's an awesome point and something I've never thought of.
Oh yeah, no. If
It's
you
just
get,
something I've
like,
accepted
bite
forever.
the inside of your lip or something when you get body checked.
Stupid.
It is
Just
stupid.
Stupid.
And guys do
It's the
try
best
to
word I
bite a
can-
lip or something when they get high sticks and about a minute. They try to, you got adrenaline going.
They can't draw blood fast
No,
enough.
give it a try.
Matthews
You
got
get
it
a
pretty
little
good there, right in the
So
middle of the
it's-
lip. That would have killed.
It's 2 minutes or it's a 5-minute major.
Yeah, he either meant to stick him in the face. That's a 5. You didn't. It's a 2.
How long has that rule been around? Has that been
Long
forever?
enough to piss me
Since
off.
people been bleeding.
I don't remember it coming in or whatever, but you're right. It doesn't make any sense because it can, like, something that doesn't draw blood can be way more vicious, like you said, than something that doesn't. That's something I never thought of, Kip. You're right.
The other thing from Calgary's perspective here is they're just not that good.
Thanks?
Yeah, I'm watching Saturday night
Yeah.
and they're slow
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they
they're
lack
old.
offense.
Yeah.
And
Elite offense.
what?
Well, it's not good.
Yeah, they've got it's not good. They got a little bit of a Brad May thing going on right now because the buildup off of this trade was huge for both clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, and I don't know what tomorrow brings or next month or next year, but I will say today, this has been a really bad trade for both teams.
Yeah, neither team looks better. Well, Florida's terrible. The one thing with Calgary, so I wrote an article today on strength of schedule, like who's had the hardest, who is the easiest to go. The Flames have had the literal hardest schedule in the NHL and have the easiest schedule in the NHL remaining. I know there's still 50-some games. It's probably not that big a swing, but I think it's hard when you've got new players on your team and you're up against some good teams early. Tough to get that kind of mojo going. I can see a world where the Flames find it this season, put it together a little bit. Like Huberdeau,
right?
for example, 115
I didn't
points last
notice
year.
him. I didn't notice him Saturday night.
I snapped a beautiful pass to Noah Hannafin for the first goal if the Flames scored.
That's
Okay.
true.
Yeah.
But after that, was he an influencer in the game? Did he
What would you say?
dictate
do
play?
here.
Absolutely not.
No, did not control the
And
match.
that contract hasn't
Before
started.
before the season, would you have traded Willie Nylander for Jonathan Huberdeau?
yes,
the
without
season?
flinching. But you're right.
Hey,
now
I'm
now
asking.
it's like,
I don't know if I would have.
oh, pardon me. Huberdeau was a top 5 Hart Trophy guy last year. He had
115
115
points.
to Willie's 80.
Yeah. I don't know. You would have to ask me then. Because my mind is blurred now. But I don't know. I really don't know if I would have. If I'm trading Willie Nylander, it's for an elite defenseman.
Yeah.
That would always be going into my conversation. So maybe if it was both of them
See,
within a week or
Okay, I'll save you time. You would have. So,
Maybe.
I think the majority of anybody would say, yeah, I would.
yeah.
And they would see the 115 points and in the MVP talk. But it really, I'm not sure he'll ever reach that or come close to it ever again.
It's crazy because you're right. You think about Willie now, and it's like if he's a 45 goal guy, not
Yeah.
a chance you trade him for Huberdeau. If Huberdeau's
Well,
going
right
to get
now,
if
you-
Huberdeau's
you-
going to get 95 points with
you would-
18 goals.
You'd laugh at trading Willie for
And the
Jonathan
contract,
Huberdeau.
10 years times, what is it?
8
What,
times 10.5. That starts next year.
8 times 10.5. So
Yeah.
you'd be like, okay, well, what are you attaching to Huberdeau to get Nylander?
How much are they eating?
But this is like the perfect scenario for Huberdeau is that you got traded to a team where the owner was in a full panic because all he saw were players who want to leave.
And you had a guy who wanted to stay. and he
No,
was
not
like,
no, you didn't want a guy that wanted to stay necessarily. You needed to sign him or else he would have gone too.
Mhm.
So you overpaid.
Right.
So that's what happened here.
Yeah.
So if Huberdeau doesn't get the 115 points and have that career year, and say he scores 85,
Yeah.
where's his marketplace on a new contract?
Boy, it's still a lot of points, and he's still a fairly prime age
Okay.
guy. It's high. It's not whatever. It's $8 million a year or something. 8 times 8, or 8
Yes.
times 9. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
8.5.
Yeah.
Ballpark.
Right.
But he got
An extra
14
2 per year.
an extra 2 and 14 million because you had an owner who panicked into, we can't lose anybody anymore.
How do you get a panicking boss? That sounds like a great spot to be.
Do we
in.
have any at Rogers?
I don't know. Is anyone freaking out about losing us? Yeah. No.
unfortunately
No.
not, no.
Bueller.
Kadri, what'd you think of Kadri?
Yeah, I mean, it was
Nice goal.
should have bet my life savings he was going to score. That was a lock, but yeah, he's fine. Scored. Didn't notice him a ton, I would say. I wouldn't say he was playing with the recklessness, and I wouldn't say he was noticeable for that part of his game as much as I would usually think. Wouldn't you agree?
I just think when I watch him and when I watched him in Colorado, and we all believe that that was just the perfect spot for him, he needs to come behind someone
Yes.
like a
You don't want him to have to be the
McKinnon.
guy with the pressure to score. You
Yes.
want him to be the guy who follows
Yes.
up and
That's
contributes
right.
gravy.
And Lindholm had an amazing year last year with Johnny Hockey and Matthew Tkachuk, but he's not that guy either, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. You know what I was thinking about Goodrow, and this is all related, but not directly. You know, we give guys such a hard time, or I do anyway, sometimes, about just like wanting to make as much money as they can during their career. I've been giving Johnny Goodrow a really hard time. Wasn't it you who said to me that offer was like way more than anyone else was offering him in
Calgary's?
Columbus?
Calgary's was way more than Columbus's.
Calgary's is more than Columbus.
Oh my gosh, I think they got to 11.
Okay, well then, yeah, he's a coward. I stick with it. I'm standing by it.
He went
I
to-
was just gonna say, if you're gonna
He
make
went to-
millions
he-
more, it's
he-
millions.
he-
I understand
he-
it.
He took, he shaved, I don't know, 15, 20 million bucks.
Oh my God! I guess like even your take home after taxes, if it's better in Columbus, still not.
So he loses the extra mil and change off of 7 years, and
Yeah.
he gives up the 8th year at 11.
Wow.
20 million bucks, bud.
Well, just didn't want the spotlight, huh? Didn't want the pressure. Didn't
No.
want.
No. Just
I'm just gonna go earn my money.
No, I'm gonna go somewhere just closer to the family, and
I'll just buy a farm in Ohio for
I think the border had
$3,000.
and didn't want to play in Canada anymore, buddy. Didn't
Wow.
want to play in Canada anymore.
It's an interesting
Good.
sliding doors
Beat
he
it.
had to sign with the Devils. Right?
What's that?
Because it was like a big rumor that he was going to go to the Devils, right? They were in on him.
They
Imagine got
never.
him
Nobody stepped up
with that.
like.
Cool.
This is how you know for sure. Is because Columbus went and knocked on Kadri's door first
Mhm.
because they thought they had no shot at Johnny Gaudreau.
Oh, really?
So the first
Well,
offer,
I've seen the clip where
the
they
f-
find out that Goodrow's interested,
the-
and they're like, "Wait, what?"
the first big offer out of the gate, they said Columbus thought that they had a better shot at getting out of the gate and getting Kadri than they did Johnny Hockey.
They'd have been better off.
And that's why they looped back, because Kadri said, no, I want to go to a contender, or I have different reasons to not want to go to Columbus.
Mhm.
And that's when Columbus regrouped and said, Johnny Hockey's still around?
Yeah. Well, there is a clip where they find out that he's interested, and it's through a teammate of his, Goodbranson, actually, I think, who's like, "Hey, Johnny would come play for your team," and they're like,
Yeah.
Goodrow? Johnny
Yeah.
Goodrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell him
But,
we'll give him $70 million.
But that's that's really where it stemmed on and especially with Huberdeau getting that money is that. So when you start hearing that, Johnny Hockey's turning down $11 million per season, and Matthew Tkachuk's not re-signing,
You're urgent
to go out there and say, we got to prove that people want to play in Calgary, in Canada, whatever, and we're gonna go up another $1.5 million for a guy over market value, and that's how we ended up signing.
They're a pretty good defensive team, and they just don't produce offensively. They're begging for him to find it.
They're slow.
Yeah,
too.
I agree.
They're slow, and we saw Lucic, healthy scratch guys. Now think about this for a second. That's
Daryl Sutter doing that.
Daryl's.
That's a big statement.
That's Daryl's guy.
Yeah. I mean, look at it, though, Kipper. It's Toffoli's not fast. Kadri, okay. Lindholm's not that fast. Mangiapane. Then you go down the lineup. Trevor Lewis, Lucic. Like,
They are 18th in the NHL in points percentage.
Yeah.
Calgary
I
Flames.
still think they're a playoff team. I'm very confident they're a playoff team, but
What's the big difference this year? And their defense has actually probably improved. We can all say that with Uyghur.
Not getting a save.
Exactly.
yeah. I think
The
they
dip
have
in the
worst
goaltending.
save percentage.
Yeah.
5 on 5.
Vladar, like,
Vladar is huge.
No, they don't.
did you like Nylander's 30-footer
No.
finding a way to go
5
through
home?
him? Yeah.
No,
Pretty.
I did not.
No,
I
didn't
thought,
like
he
that
made, I
at
thought
all.
he made a few decent saves in the third.
He did.
I thought he was stepped up a little bit in the third period. But yeah, the one that beat him there, that was not pretty. So,
Okay. As ugly as it is in Calgary, just to kind of bookend this trade, like Florida is god awful.
Guys, they ain't making playoffs.
They're not making the playoffs. This is we're trading for Matthew Tkachuk because he's going to be the difference maker. And point production, he's there, right? He's having a career year again, is he not?
Yeah, he's been good.
It's been good, but he's not a difference maker for them to win games, to influence games.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
he's 37 points in 27 games so far for Matthew Tkachuk this year. 13 goals, 20
But
points.
They are 13, 12, and 4 in 29 games. 13 wins in 29
he's
games.
not denting games for him.
Man, they're behind the Capitals, the Red Wings, the Rangers, the Islanders, all these
They
teams.
got
for the playoffs.
outworked last night
Yeah.
by Seattle.
Funny, too, because isn't that what they tried to fix with their identity? They tried to get harder, grittier. Isn't that the idea of getting Tkachuk and get moving on from Huberdeau?
People have been questioning Matthews a little bit this season. How about Barkov?
I don't know. Is he getting questions?
Oh.
Are you giving him right now?
I'm like, where is he?
No idea.
Where is Barkov in all of this? And I know he's been hurt. I know he's been out of the lineup, but when he's been in, there's just no signs of him being a elite guy this year.
Wild swing for Florida, who just won the President's Trophy.
We would be remiss if I didn't ask you your thoughts on David Kampf, Timothy Liljegren, and
I
Rasmus
cannot believe we went
Sandin.
38 minutes.
Starting,
They started
starting
OT.
the overtime.
Do you want?
What were they going in? 1-6 or something?
6 in
Yeah.
a row they'd lost.
Okay, 6 in a row. Coaches get paid for making tough decisions or good decisions.
At least they
And,
did something.
I mean, you can't necessarily blame him for trying. Now, if they would have been scored upon on that first shift, you know how the narrative would have gone.
Yeah, I don't know. They still would have felt justified in just doing something else, wouldn't they have?
But there
Yes.
would have been Sammy going, come on,
Yeah, just start your best guys.
just go with
Don't
your
overthink
best
it.
guy.
Not me. I actually.
You're okay?
I love David Kampf. I'm a president of the David
So,
Kampf fan.
you know
fan
what would have
club, so-
happened if they had won that opening face-off?
Exactly. He was.
One guy, whoever got the puck, would have taken it back behind their net, and they'd have changed 2. Liljegren or whatever, they'd have changed a D-man, and Camp
So-
would have changed.
We talked about this after the game. I thought it would have been that who they'd throw it back to the D-man and they would have sent one forward.
They would have
Instead of
changed.
2.
The plan would have been both guys. My understanding from what the Marlies have been testing this out for them a little bit,
Ooh.
and it sounds like the plan would
Face
be
off, win,
face-off win.
puck possession,
Yep.
get your good stars out.
Start with a conservative mindset till you get it, then you put on your gunners and
Interesting.
Yeah,
I like
So,
it.
Yeah, why not? Right? Like,
Can we listen to Keith's clip on it?
Yes.
It's really good.
Figured Sandy would be the most likely to take a stick in the face. No, listen, it's no secret that things haven't gone gone well for us in overtime. We've tried a little bit of everything in terms of mixing and matching our top four guys, and it hasn't gone well. You know, and reality is we've lost to some teams that have taken a little more conservative approach off the start. And I think given what we've been through, I think we needed to shock the system a little bit and try something entirely different.
Shock the system, and they
Well,
do,
that
and
was-
then they go score.
Who clipped him? Huberdeau?
Yeah.
I mean, those are nice breaks
Oh yeah.
off a face-off where a
Yeah.
guy's just doesn't really focus on his stick positioning and
Wear one in the
accidentally
brain.
clip
and-
somebody.
yeah.
Those are nice breaks to start a face-off.
But that's why it's been so wild that they've been 1-6 and lost 6 in a row. It's like you expect to get a break somewhere along the way.
And they got a absolute peach of a break on the winner.
Yeah,
You know,
the
it
pass
bounces
back,
off,
yeah.
and it just lands on his stick in
Yeah.
the sweet spot with a wide
Yeah.
open net, and he shoots it in. So,
Can they save a little bit of those for April?
well, it's not 3-on-3 in April, so.
I'm just talking about
The old
breaks in
bounces like
general.
that.
Listen,
Yeah.
and if maybe they can get
Right.
better than a 630 save percentage in overtime, they might be okay.
I love that
All
Campbell
right.
hate sneaks back in.
Well, I mean,
No, you're
You're not,
6:30. It's not good.
you're not losing faith right now.
in
Did you
goaltender-
drop a little bit of faith in Matt Murray just based on an
listen.
average night?
Listen, every goalie has bad games, but
Okay.
it's more when he was going well, the confident look of him and how locked in he seemed. That game, it was the lack of confidence in his game. He looked off. So I just hope that's a blip as opposed to a trend. Is my only
Okay.
thought.
We'll ask.
Yeah, just move on.
We'll ask Jim Ralph after the break. How's that? And then we go to Colby Armstrong in the second hour. So we got plenty more meat on the bone on Bob Barker Day on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.
Right on.
Back after these words.
Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
How we doing, Sammy? Everybody back on board on our YouTube channel. I'm getting notes that people weren't getting
I saw your tweet.
the visuals.
I like that there's just an off button for it.
Listen, I'm trying to do some research for people that are quite upset that our YouTube channel wasn't on at the beginning, and I've narrowed it down to Sammy pushing the wrong button.
You got it.
There's the big red on one there.
Yeah.
I know that's your job, Sam.
No, I'm not joking now. Like, what did you do to screw up all the viewers to start the show?
I did nothing.
He literally never has anything to do with the YouTube
Did you
channel.
fix it?
I did.
How did you fix it?
Clap on, clap off.
Okay.
Clap or
Unplug, replug.
And he's not joking.
Ralphie's there, please.
Ralphie, come and save the show, please.
He's gone. He was gone. I was talking to you and I was gone.
It's a Christmas miracle, but the opposite. It's a Christmas nightmare.
You've turned him into our YouTube channel.
You hit the off button again. What do you
I
ask,
got hung
Ralphie?
up on him.
Oh.
You hung up on him.
Only one thing's allowed to work at a time.
All right. You think he's
Do you like Malgin the other night? Do you like him on Saturday?
nothing special. Why?
Yeah, like more than Robertson in that spot. I feel like sometimes he has the hockey puck. And Robertson doesn't ever seem to. So that's nice.
I'm
I was about to say, please, Ralphie, save the show, and then you bailed.
Yeah, I've got a history of saving things, haven't I? Yep.
Yes, without a doubt. But Leafs don't need any saving, even when it's not looking as good as it has the last little while. They still managed to get points. I mean, I said it earlier in the week. Last week, they can't do anything wrong right now. It's unbelievable the run on consecutive points.
Yeah, and you know, Harry Neal always had the great line too. He said, "You don't criticize the wins. You know, you're going to have enough games where you played well and didn't get it. So, you know, enjoy the role." And I remember that 16-game point streak in the early 2000s. How it was sort of the same thing, and it's why. And I don't know if Kip, you're probably similar to me, where you can remember stuff from 20 years ago than you can 20 minutes ago. And,
Breakfast.
I know. But I can remember during that streak, they were the one overtime loss they had in the 16 games. They were actually down a goal to St. Louis with about 3 minutes left, and Tom Fitzgerald took a double minor for high sticking. So they're still down a goal. They're shorthanded. They pull the goalie to play 5-on-5. Joe Nieuwendyk tied it with about 30 seconds left, and then Chris Pronger won it in overtime. But that's how they got the point. You know, you pull your goalie and score a shorthanded goal to tie it late, and that's what it feels like they're doing now. That whatever moment they need, they seem to be getting right now.
Yeah, I love the idea of not criticizing the wins too, because sometimes you do play well and deserve better results. Someone who has faced a little bit of criticism this year that was probably time to turn it around a little bit is Auston Matthews. Guy, I think he's got a 8-game point streak right now. He's scored in 6 of the last 7 games, 3 points on Saturday night, 8 shots. Have you seen him starting to come around, using that wrist shot a bit more?
Yeah, and I think that was even the goal in the first period against Calgary. Like as much as you like the tap-ins from the side of the net or the redirections or the rebounds. It's like Ovechkin's one-timer or Stamkos scoring on a one-timer. Those are the ones you love seeing. Those are the fun ones because there's a build-up to it where you're saying, oh no, like Matthews has it in the middle of the slot, moving on the goalie, and there's a certain amount of I think excitement to it. So it's. I don't think anyone ever wanted to see Barry Bonds hit an inside the park home run, but it still shows up in the stat sheet. But the thing is with Auston Matthews as well, it seems like because every time he's gotten going, I think he's got six in his last 7.
Yeah.
But then Nylander will have a 2-goal game to stay ahead of him for the team lead, or Tavares was doing that. So it seemed like as soon as he got on a roll, somebody else was on a roll as well to keep him. second or third in team and goal score, which, let's face it, that's a pretty nice problem to have.
It was almost as if last season, every time Austin Matthews stepped on the ice, you would almost expect a goal. And you start thinking about like the number of shots he gets or the opportunities he gets. And it's almost as if you're shocked when it doesn't happen. And now we're watching Mitch Marner on a run on his consecutive point streak. And you start going 5-on-5, all the power plays, even the shorthanded opportunities where he's a threat. First minute, last minute of every period. And you're like, why shouldn't this continue for a long period of time as long as he's healthy and the other guys are having great seasons? There's no reason to think that this could end.
No, although let's go back to Kyper and Bourne to the first 10 games of the season. You're going, my God, this isn't going to end either. Like we haven't seen one reason to believe they're going to come out of this. And they eventually do. But you're right. It's no different, I think, than when you look at McDavid and Draisaitl and Edmonton. They're going, there's just too much skill, too much talent there, to have it go away for an extended period of time. And you just hope, once you get into the playing for real in April, that if it disappears, it's for a couple of periods or maybe one game as opposed to, 2 or 3 in a 7-game series.
What are your thoughts on Connor Timmins thus far? Gets paired up with TJ Brody. Kyper and I were kind of hypothesizing. It seems like they want him to have success. They're putting him in a position to have success. Is he someone who you think can stay in the lineup when they need I guess, as a 7th guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to be pleased that every game he's looked more comfortable. I mean, Arizona was sending him down to try to get his timing and everything else because he hasn't played hardly over the last 3 years. So I think that's what you love about it is the fact that he's every game he's looked a little more comfortable. And let's face it, it's probably a little easier to get your feet wet with a team that's on a roll like Toronto now as opposed to Arizona. So, obviously the talent was there that got him this far. So it's, I like the fact that, it's like, putting Nick Robertson on a top 6 spot, put him in a position to succeed because you may not think you needed him, back in September before you had all the injuries. But I think it shows that once you get into the postseason, if you go through it again, I think you want to have as many guys ready as possible.
We're talking to Jim Ralph, the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs, color analyst.
Bourne will love that. That's great.
There you go. Yeah, you are, buddy. You are 100%. Willie Nylander, a career night, Saturday night, and we heard a sound bite off of Sheldon Keefe talking about just definitely more consistent, definitely more influential between off days now for the Toronto Maple Leafs. How high is his ceiling for you?
Well, what I like Kyper is that there's you can see the maturity in him, even in the interviews, and you can see it on the ice. Where I remember early on, it was right near the end of the year, and it might have been his 3rd or 4th game. Remember, there was a 2-on-1, and he went to the net, and the guy didn't get him the puck, and you could see him roll his eyes as if, this is crap. You're thinking, oh my God, is this going to be one of those talented guys that never makes it? And to see the maturity through the years, even the celebrations on ice, it's more about business than it is about flash or anything else. So, I think you love the fact that he's continued to improve. He didn't, plateau at 25 goals. I think he's on pace for 48 or 49 now, and last year it was a career high 35. So, yeah. I think he could be a 50-goal, 100-point guy easily in this league.
Yeah, it's high praise, but his coach seems to think so too. Ralphie, I wonder what you think about them being split up, like him having Austin Matthews and then Marner being with Tavares. Since they've made that move, they've obviously, as a team, had a ton of success. One of the things that kind of stands out to me is Marner and Tavares draw the hard matchups, like the best D pair, the top line. They start in their D zone, and life has been easier for Matthews and Nylander. Do you think this is the best construction of their forward group going into playoffs? to make it a little bit more challenging on an opponent to match up against Marner and Matthews, clearly the two best?
Okay, I'll go out and make a prediction. I think when the playoffs start, it'll be Marner and Matthews back together.
You do, eh?
I think it's got a long stretch. I think it's great how John Tavares is, I don't want to call it a bounce back year, but, has put up, great numbers from the start. It's obviously a luxury when you've got, those four in your top six that you can mix and match. But I still think it's, and you see Edmonton does it, with Draisaitl and McDavid. Things aren't going well. You put them out together 5-on-5 and they can destroy a game for the opposition. So I still think I like the, Marner's, ability to set up and Matthews' ability to finish. So I'm going to say we got a few games to go before then, but I'd be surprised if we don't go back to what's worked, especially last year when it comes to the line combinations.
So I'm just curious on your reasoning behind Matthews and Marner ultimately being together. Would it be when it's all said and done that a guy like Matthews who needs who more? Let me put it that way.
Well, let's put it this way, Kip. James Van Riemsdyk had a career high in goals playing with Marner.
Yes.
Then John Tavares has a career high in goals playing with Marner. Then Austin Matthews, well, we know what he's done playing with Mitch Marner. So I think everybody needs Mitch Marner to put up decent numbers. But I just think if you've got, arguably the best setup guy in the league with arguably the best finisher in the league, I'm not, I haven't turned down any general managers' jobs or anything, but I think that's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, they've had some success together.
Might help too when you know that you got to sign the guy in July.
Yeah, no.
What do you think, Kyper? I'm curious your thoughts on that. Should they keep the lines as is or go back?
I've said this all along that your best goal scorer when push comes to shove, Matthews is going to want Marner.
Yeah, but who cares what he wants? What's best for the team?
Did you hear what I said? He has to sign in, you want to sign him in July.
Win a Stanley Cup and he'll stay.
They care.
Yeah, win a Stanley Cup and he'll stay. I'll go back to Ralphie now. Let's talk about the bottom six because that's way less fun. Are they any closer to finding solutions here? We were talking off the top of the show that these big four, for the Leafs, they got to score the goals or there's no next plan. Do we have an identity taking shape? Are we any closer to what it's going to look like in playoffs?
No, I mean, you got to get guys back too. You got to get that Goon Engvall back in the lineup first for the next game. And then, Yarncrook is going to play a part. I don't know if you'll see him back in the top six. But, I've liked the progress of even Zach Aston-Reese has been much more physical and noticeable of late. So I think there's still some fine-tuning to go there. I think David Kampf, for a bottom six guy, is a lot like Mitch Marner in the top six. Wherever you put him, he's going to be effective. So I think you like that. I think it's just a matter of trying to build around that. But, when they've had too many injuries, and especially, unfortunately, for Nick Robertson going down, that means somebody else has to move up in a top six role. And it was Malgin. And Joe and I were laughing because Malgin took the stick to the face and was gone the last game. And you're thinking, boy, Yarncrook got hurt when he was playing with Tavares and Marner. Robertson got hurt. Nobody's going to want to play with him. You're the sacrificial guy on on that line. But I think you've got to, same as the defense, hopefully you get everybody back healthy to fine tune what you've got heading into the postseason.
And watching Matt Murray probably have his first average game or even below average if you're Sammy McKee talking about him. It's inevitable, right? I mean, you're not gonna be the first or second star every night of the season here, but anything you saw that might have led to him having an average night?
No, I mean, I think he was right in his post game. He talked about it was sort of a scrambly game, and but boy, what a difference in post game interviews between Matt Murray and Jack Campbell. Jack might have pulled himself before overtime, and Matt Murray just kind of shrugged it off, saying, "it was a weird game," and pucks were bouncing in. But even it's funny, the Calgary up 4-3, the one that had to be reviewed, continuous motion. The review kind of took away from what a horrible goal it was.
Right.
It's like really, you almost wanted to say to Calgary, like, really, you think that shouldn't have gone in, even if the rules said it should have. So it was an off night, but I think he's the reason they win in Dallas, hands down. They end up winning that game 4-0. So you could say that hopefully everything evens out at the end and they turn around and 1-1 for him.
Ralphie, last one for me. How many times did you double take, triple take when they started David Kampf in overtime with 2 defensemen?
I was thinking the way they've gone in overtime, let's get it to a shootout. Let's put
Just
3D
defend.
up.
Yeah.
Just ice it for 5 minutes and try to get it to a shootout. But that was funny. But Sheldon Keefe had the good line. So I put that combination out there because I knew Sandin was probably most likely to take a high stick off the faceoff. So he's all right.
Brilliant coaching.
You got to tip your hat to Sheldon Keefe for that.
Well, listen, they found a way to get through it. I think that's a real good sign when you don't necessarily bring your A game here and you still find a way. But just watching Calgary and all that hype off that big trade. Just your thoughts on Kadri and a few of them, what you were able to see out of Calgary Saturday night.
Yeah, I think that's a team that hasn't quite clicked. And obviously, Huberdeau's numbers aren't anywhere near what they were last year with Florida. And obviously Florida hasn't exactly benefited from Tkachuk and the standings anyway. And I don't think we have to talk much about Columbus and Johnny Gaudreau right now. So I think it's a work in progress, but I think it's got to come down to the goaltending. They've got to get Markstrom going again, and talking to somebody in the Flame system. They said, well, the good news is the way goalies go in the NHL, he should be really good next year. So, everybody has a good year and a bad year, and they're back. But I think once they get their goaltending settled, I think they'll be all right.
Ralph, we always appreciate your time on our show. Thanks for doing this, pal.
All right. Thanks, Kyper. Thanks, Bourne.
Okay.
Thanks, Ralphie. Oh, you're off.
I found it interesting, his comment on really feeling that Matthews and Marner will, when it push comes to shove, that's his duo.
It's just so if you...
But yeah, go ahead. I want to get into what you told me.
Yeah. So if you break down the competition that both lines are facing, the Matthews line with Nylander is facing second pairs, second lines. They're starting the offensive zone, and Marner and Tavares are in the D zone against the top competition and thriving, which allows you to have Matthews and Nylander go tear it up. Matthews has found himself again. Nylander 5 points the other night.
Yeah.
Like, your team is better when the other team has to go, do you want to match up against the guy who just scored 60?
I can't argue that it's a good look. It works right now, but I'm with Ralphie. I think that leash will be so short that the moment it looks like the dam is plugged, he will go back to that. And say what you will, and I get it. Well, just win. It's all about winning the Stanley Cup, but you run the risk that if it doesn't work and you've pissed off your best star player, who, by the way, you want to have him finish the rest of his career here, that's not a good thing either.
It's not, but like, if you play him with Marner because you want to keep him happy and you lose, you're not guaranteed that he's going to sign here, and the team can't get out of the first round. We can't win, yada, yada.
Yeah. There's no guarantees on anything, right?
If of course, if you play him apart and they lose, is he more mad, more likely to go? Maybe a bit. But if you play them apart and you're slightly more likely to win a Stanley Cup or win a round.
We can ask Mark Crawford if you can go back and lose. Would you lose with Gretzky or without Gretzky? He'd like to lose with Gretzky.
Yeah, but
in the shootout.
In this case, Gretzky is having them apart to me. That's your best team. That's your best look. And I just think I would want to play for a coach who gives the team the best chance to win. not just caters. I mean, I know that's maybe naive, but
I think it's two different conversations. What I would like them to do and what they will likely do. And I'm agreeing with Ralphie that they will likely go back to Matthews-Marner.
Well, the reason they'll likely go back to it is because no one goes through a playoff run without running into losses in a wall.
Yeah,
you have to make changes at some point.
Game 1 playoffs, are they together?
Yeah, but it could come in game.
I don't want to argue about what. Well, this is my thing.
round.
So it's not to me, will they be together? It's should they be. That's the conversation, is should they be. And here's what I know about Sheldon Keefe. So when I was with the Marlies.
Marner and Tavares will have Matthew Knies on their left wing, so they'll be fine.
That's true. So I'm with the Marlies in like 2017, 2016 maybe. We play Albany in the first round, and Albany is tearing us up through the neutral zone. Damon Severson, fast skater, yada, yada. Sheldon wants to, we're a couple games in, wants to switch it up, and we went to a trap, like no man forecheck. We didn't send anyone. And it was the first change we made, but then people started scoring. Like our better players just kind of came around and it worked. And we stuck with this bad forecheck, in my opinion, just because we had made a change and we started to have success. I think that's what's going to happen with Matthews and Marner. They'll make a change in game 2 if it's not working, or early, and you win a couple of games and they'll stick with it. I don't think they're going to do the right thing because even if they start with them apart, they're going to come together. I think they should. The team is better off when they're apart.
And right now, it's hard for the coach right now, if he prefers this or if he prefers the other way, regardless of what it is, it's hard to switch it up when you haven't dropped a game in regulation since Remembrance Day.
Yeah.
Right? Like right now is not the time that you switch it up. It's when you go on a 4 or 5 game, which
they were doing okay.
Which I think is probably going to happen at some point here, that they'll lose 3 or 4 games in a row at some point for the rest of the season, I would imagine.
4's a lot.
Pardon? 4, maybe not.
Yeah.
3?
Yeah.
If they lose 3 in a row and we're starting to wonder about them being ready for the playoffs and we're yelling about it or whatever, I think they could maybe switch it up a little bit. But
what's going on in Kyper's brain right now?
No, I'm just.
He was writing out his lines over
there. Outside of that decision, everything else is just like bingo bango balls, right? Mulligan, Yarncroc.
The only roster
he
decision he has to make
is this. This is it.
And maybe D pairs.
This will you'll hang your hat on this.
Yeah. And it'll work or it won't work, and he'll either get fired or not. Good luck.
Okay. We'll take a quick break one more time, and then we'll bring back the arm dog, Colby Armstrong, former National Hockey League player, Sportsnet analyst. I don't know what he does now, bar down, or he's on Spittin' Chicklets. He's in that group now.
Diversified like Biz, where he just collects checks now. Don't ask
they
how.
Call me, I show up, I crush an energy drink, and away we go.
That's what we can expect after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button for us. We love that. Back after this.
From the City News 6 City Traffic Center, I'm Jasmine Graywall. If you are traveling westbound on the 401,
Wheel, Kyper, and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Just waiting on Colby Armstrong. Says he needs a few minutes. Probably in the bathroom. What do you think?
That's not a very kind assumption.
I probably get a meeting.
Busy can he be?
Get a meeting of some kind.
What's that?
Get a meeting of some
Get a
kind.
meeting.
He's probably fighting in Rough and Rowdy or whatever the team he's around these days.
No, he just had a meeting with his kid's coach.
Oh, that sounds much more parental.
So we get like 2 breaks during the show.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like them. Stretch out a little bit.
Perfect.
The other part that I really like about our breaks is I get to do a drive-by. Derek Brandale.
I'm glad you mentioned this.
Our tech guys, little workstation.
His snack table?
It's like a mini mart. It really is. Where, sometimes I'm in the mini mart and I'm like, I'd like to eat that. And I know I can't, right? Same thing. I go there. He's got like cookies.
I just had a cookie. I got in there.
Did you get a cookie?
I did, yeah.
I can't do that. I want to.
What
but
kills me is he's
too.
got the 2-liter of juice he's drinking out of it like it's a juice box. The 2L.
It's huge. I've never seen a carton of iced tea bigger. It's almost like a Seinfeld episode, and I think he goes to Costco, and he buys like 2 gallons of beefaroni. I expect to walk by and see a can of beefaroni one day on Derek's desk.
Listen. I get it. You gotta have the snacks. He's here for this show and the Raptor show. Gotta hydrate, juice it up.
It's also to lighten the mood here.
Thank you for that.
Worked
for
so well
providing
today.
props.
It really worked
You're
well.
the best.
Really.
Did enjoy the cookie. Thank you.
Have you always been this snacky in your life?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
We've been working together a
same
long
way.
time, and DB has always had the snacks.
Before we get Colby, I have a snack-sized piece of information.
Ooh.
Nice
segue.
Wow, you could almost host with that sort of stuff.
Almost is what I do. Almost.
Evolving.
The Vancouver Canucks made an contract offer to Bo Horvat. You knew that. Horvat turned it down. Now want to trade him.
Their offer at the beginning. If you go back in the summer, there was a real sense that it was, we've got a contract. We're going to offer it to either you or JT Miller. But at no point did it ever seem like they were both going to get it done.
Now JT Miller's a double agent passing pucks to the other team for the Canucks.
So
Yeesh.
it's almost as if that they were so insulted by Bo Horvat turning down their offer that they went to JT Miller and upped it up, and topped it up.
Yeah.
And he was on the outside looking in from day one of this season.
So Horvat now is just waiting to find out what team he plays for because it won't be the Canucks in late March.
Well, they just don't value him as a top centerman. They don't think he creates enough. They don't think he passes the puck well enough.
Okay, I mean, that's fine enough if that's the criticism. I am curious to know what he could fetch them. Like, are they going to sell him for future assets, like do a rebuild now? Or are they going to try to trade him for a guy who can help them make the playoffs? Or
So let's just do this exercise. We're waiting on Colby Armstrong, and if he comes in, maybe we'll even join him.
Well, just quickly, before we get deeper into this conversation, just wanted to make a quick announcement of the Toronto Blue Jays. Made a signing. They signed right-hander Chris Bassett to a 3-year, $63 million contract, according to Jeff Passan, good right-handed starting pitcher for the Jays. So more on that at the top of the hour with Ben and Blake Murphy.
we like that?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like capable starting
Does
pitching.
he throw it hard?
Wouldn't say that hard,
All
but it's a good sign for the Jays, kind of getting their offseason
Give me his
started
numbers
here.
last year.
Let me quickly pull them up for you. You played in the National League, which is it's
helps.
a little bit. Derek's saying things in my ear as I'm doing this. Let me see here. I'm pulling it up. Last year, he was a 3.42 ERA, 15 wins and 9 losses, which people don't really care about. 182 innings pitched. He's got a career ERA of 3.45 in 8 seasons in the MLB. A lot of those in Oakland, so he played in a tough division there, but in a big park. 1 year with the Mets, he was pretty good. So good signing.
Age?
He is. How old is he?
We'll turn 34 in
There you go.
February.
Ah.
Fastball sits at 93.
Yeah. So he's
Fastball sits
so
at
he's
93 and he's
yet
34.
he's yet another poo flinger for the Jays pitching staff.
Yeah.
6'5",
All right.
220 pounds.
There you go.
Ooh, he could be a
get in on the
goalie.
forecheck.
Wow, he's got the same body as me.
Sorry, 220, not a chance.
205.
6'5",
You
perfect.
205?
Yeah.
I'm surprised by that.
Anyways,
Soaking wet
Yeah, I was gonna say.
after a big meal.
with a pocket full of pennies. Okay. Where were we?
Horvat.
Horvat.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just go through the exercise a little bit. Okay. Who will take him now? Who's contending?
Colorado.
Yes. But
It's the only team I could think of.
But-
And I feel like I got one.
as a rental,
Toronto.
and what are you willing to give up for renting him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, it would be more on a team that would think that they could re-sign him and match the number where probably he and his agent think that they can get to, which to me, I think minimum he'd be 7-8, 8.25. That's the ballpark I have him at. If he can score, if you look at him and say, hey, he's
He scored 35 goals this year
40
or
goals.
something. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
That should put him around 8, maybe just under 8, 7.5, 7.7.
Yeah.
Over 7 years, he should be able to make $55 million on a 7-year deal.
Yeah, Colorado's had salary cap issues, which is why they couldn't hang on to Kadri, who they loved. And that's essentially the Kadri contract.
Colorado, could they rent him?
Rent him, but not.
It would still cost you a first and a prospect at the minimum.
But if you're Colorado, you just want a cup, you recognize a window, like you probably can live with a rental, right? Like one rental. I think you're okay with that.
And are Vancouver fans okay giving him up for a first and a rental?
Depends what they want to do. This is the big divide. I mean,
to me, they bet on the wrong horse.
They did bet on the wrong horse.
Like, I would be happy to give Horvat somewhat of a similar contract that they gave to JT Miller.
Yeah.
Right? What's Miller's? 8 times?
I think he was over 8.
Oof. But if I'm gonna pick between those two guys, I would definitely pick. Yeah, it was a $56 million contract over 8 years, so $8 million a year until 29-30. So if I'm a Canucks fan, I'm probably pissed off that they built around the wrong guy or kind of picked the wrong horse. No. So now you're going to have to trade a guy that's probably a better player because you made the commitment to a guy who's probably a worse player.
One's your captain and the other one isn't.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that management has made some curious decisions, and this would be the front runner for me of the most strange. You don't think the Leafs would have interest in a guy making $5.5 million, probably owed 2 the deadline or 3 or something? Would they want to trade?
Let me ask you something.
I guess it's the old. They're not trading eyes, and then who is it?
Or you're trading Bo Horvat as a 35, 40 goal scorer?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Sammy, pay attention here.
I'm listening.
Bo's got 20 already in 28 games, by the way. He might score 40.
How many on the power play?
I don't have that right here, but
I'll tell you.
I'm guessing a lot.
I'm guessing a lot. Here's where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Okay. You're the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you've just traded for Bo Horvat. Who is coming off the first power play for Bo Horvat?
Well,
Sammy, you go first.
Sandine. 5 forwards.
Tavares.
Give your
Marner.
head a shake, please, for a second.
No, I think it would probably be William Nylander, probably. And then you let Willie do the second unit.
Horvat
You
has
just told me
8
he's
power
as good
play
as
goals.
Pasternak, and now you're telling me Willie's off the first power play.
Well, let's be honest. It's Horvat who's on the second power play.
There is no power. You're not trading for Bo Horvat to stick him on the last 10 seconds of a power play.
Now the second unit comes out, and just 10 seconds left in the power play.
It's a good question, is it not?
It is a good question, an important one.
He has 8 power play goals this season, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for listening to the show.
You said that?
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
You're fine.
Trying to get Colby here.
All good, buddy.
That's the danger, and you're now
it's a
in
good
the
problem
danger
when you have
of,
too many good players,
Yeah.
and you're
But
not going to re-sign him, so you don't care that he's.
But Willie will care.
No, Willie's on the power play still. Bo gets to sit in the bench and be.
Tavares sitting on the bench?
No, just Bo. Bo does not get to play on my power play.
Then I'm not.
He comes to play for my hockey team.
I'm not trading for him to be a third line checking.
The thing
center.
is, we agree that this team needs more depth scoring. Another guy, another winger, another someone. Anyone they trade for is not going to crack that top unit. They are the team, those 4 guys, essentially.
Yeah.
And so any depth scoring they get is complimentary.
Go get somebody underneath that then.
That costs less to get.
Yes.
Okay.
Bo's expensive.
Yeah.
And you can't maximize what he can bring.
I think you make a very salient point here, and I'm on your page.
Tavares goes down with an injury, then you're trading for Bo or Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
But if you're healthy going in there, it's a tough extra piece to get.
Yes. You had me on the stat page. Tage Thompson is 4th in the NHL in points now. My goodness. Our boy.
Meeting right along with Colby here. I can't get in touch with him at the moment, boys.
All right. Let's go into news and notes.
Can I just say that Colby's big time in us?
No, he's not.
He doesn't need us.
No, he
definitely doesn't need us.
It's game time.
Let's get hungry.
He's really good to us, so I don't want to say anything bad. He's just obviously anyways.
We never got to get into Keefe on the reception for Marner's second assist and how the fans in Toronto saw Marner get a second assist and lost their collective minds.
I'm so sick of Marner talk.
Did I just have a stroke? Like Chris Letang?
Yeah. Oh my God. That's
I thought I'd make you guys laugh. Okay, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on the warm reception as Marner keeps on ticking.
How dialed in our fans are on, it's, of course, they're dialed in on that, but just in general. I mean, you look at the other night, the reaction to the situation late in the third period, with the Engvall situation there and the LA player tonight. I didn't really know what I looked up. I didn't know what happened. And then you quickly learn that, they're really attuned to what's happening. And it's terrific because it's so well deserved for Mitch. This guy has really been driving the bus for us. So for him to get that reaction, know that the people are behind him, I think is terrific.
Feel good story.
I like that we haven't talked about the number until you got to Ralphie or whatever, but it's the birthday situation. 25, we'll talk about it again. 30, we'll really talk about it. But it's so in the flow of his game, and it's so in the flow of these games. Like, it's not even, it's just completely, it would be so weird for him to not get a point.
It is assumed it's happening.
Right? Like, I'm so shocked if he doesn't get a point at some point. So, yeah, I'm happy with our rule of the birthdays.
Bunting his assist streak was snapped, but he's up to a pretty quality run of play here. Have you been more impressed, Kyper, with him getting closer to the guy he looked like last year?
No, I think this is a new look for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a positive way?
Yes. I've liked his board work, not necessarily within 6 feet of the net. That's what we saw a lot last year. And I'm seeing better puck battles. 6 feet off the wall, just maybe 3 feet inside the blue line or 3 feet outside the blue line, and just nice subtle plays that are typical to me playoff type of plays. Just bumping pucks up, having guys skate into them. Yeah, I like his look right now.
Speaking of contracts, he's an important guy for them to figure out what his number is going to look like next year. Because I was looking at, Eli Tolvanen was claimed by the Seattle Kraken today, and I checked out the Seattle Kraken's stat list for their team, and it's like 25 points, 24.
Right, let's go to
Mr.
Colby. Hey, Colby, I want to tell you that Sammy and JB thought you were big timing us, but I said no. He'll come on. He'll come on.
Oh yeah, boys. Sorry, I had a little. I'm sure
lunch with
JB,
Wit and Biz.
JB, no, your little guy's young. Kipper, you probably went through this. You got to come in and talk to the team coach. Got to have a little meeting.
Oh my God, you're muscling. You're big timing.
Oh, is he not getting enough ice time, Colbs?
Hey, what? Don't. Hey. You want him to go to the left lock
Yeah, I'm old school. Kippy, I'm old school. A little tighten the screws, you know. You got to tighten them up.
So what's the issue?
I don't know. I just want to step in and see if I can lend a hand when I can as a parent coach on the side to give him a hand. That's all.
You're like, by the way, I played in the National Hockey League if you need some help. That's great, Colby. Good for you.
What do you think? Do you think this guy's secure enough to handle a Colby Armstrong?
He was good. The meeting went well, bud. The meeting went well. He's good.
All he did was sit there and nod. That's all he did.
No, he's been doing this a little while, so it was good. It was a good thing. We just went over some standard stuff, right?
Good.
No, and I gotta say, you gotta say concepts. You gotta say concepts and not system now.
Yeah.
I found that out.
You know, first 4 weeks of the Leafs season, you could have easily gone and talked to Sheldon and give him the same talk, but it's not necessary anymore. Sheldon's got it going right now.
Yeah, he does. How the world has turned, and it's coming up Leafland now. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think, right, with the amount of, big-time defensemen that are on their lineup. That they're playing this well.
What's been most impressive for you on this latest heater?
Well, I would say, surprisingly, they seem like they have a lot more spit in their game, and it's kind of crazy, right? Like, you give more to guys that are inexperienced. They seem to have a little bit more pop. I don't know. Does it seem like that to you in watching them? Like, they came in here and handed it to the Penguins a few weeks ago on Hockey Night in Canada, and it was they're just looking like fairly confident, rock solid, and resilient with their play. And it didn't look, one-dimensional. You know what I mean? So I think the contributions from, some of these guys that have been thrust into positions and had to step up is showing pretty well right now with some of the guys they have.
Yeah, Coles, we've been trying to figure out, they have had a better sort of defensive play and a little bit of edge to their game here and there. We're trying to figure out if their play is sustainable come playoffs. And one of the reasons that we have some concerns is sort of a lack of depth scoring beyond the big four guys here. You've played a role on a team with elite players. Do you ever get in a position where you just wait for those guys to do it? Is it kind of hard to play in a situation where you feel like sort of the secondary cast to those guys?
Well, I think there's definitely like a pressure to it, right? Like, I think, you can only go so long as one of those guys without producing, for sure. I think, as a player in that position, you feel it. And what's the games on that? How many games can you go? Like 5 games without a point? 8 games without a point? There's I used to have a coach who used to say to me, like, you go. It was Michel Therrien. He used to say, like, you go out there, you play defense, you give me this, you give me that, but you hide behind, our system or like where you are in the lineup, which is saying, like, we need more from you production-wise. And I think that's, where those players do feel that pressure to not just be there, And Zach Aston-Reese, a guy that's a Leaf, has been an example of that for me for a while here when he was with the Penguins. Good, capable, smart player, but, like, are you going to do a little bit more? Like, do you have more? And, he's a college scoring machine. And he comes in and he's like this defensive darling, and I think the analytics community really likes what he does when he's on the ice, and good, smart player. But, like, are you going to provide a little bit more punch, whether it's physical or also production-wise? So, I think there is something to be said about, obviously, depth scoring, but something to be said about teams that have guys that give you a little bit more. And is that the difference? More often than not, it is, right? Like, look at Boston killing everyone right now. Start, records all over the place with the way they've started, and but they're getting it from everyone. They're getting it through their lineup, and that's a well-rounded team, right?
Yeah.
That's what you need when it comes time to get her done. That's what you need. So the pressure's put on everyone individually, of course, in your role. And I think guys know that, and I think guys feel that too.
You know, you do bring up a good point, because during this run, man, it's been off the backs of really the four guys, Nylander, Marner, Matthews, and Tavares, and not much else in terms of really solid contributions offensively. And then you're living in Pittsburgh, covering the Penguins, and Sid, Still, Malkin, Gensel, Rust, and then Letang. And then after that, man, it's sink or swim with those five guys, correct?
Yeah, I think Raquel's been a good addition. He hasn't racked up points like crazy. He's still having a good productive year, but everywhere he goes, whatever line he's second or first line seems to, dominate. So they've added him. He's been good. Kapanen sat out a bunch of games and has come back, and looks to have a little glint of hope that he can find, being a contributor. Hat trick the other night for him, but
Sid's been on fire too, right?
Sid's a beast right now, and guess what? Yes, I believe he has 7 power play points this year. Their power play has been absolutely putrid for most of the year. They're starting to get it going now, and you got to think where he'd be at, league wise with the power play going. Because if you look at all the guys at the top right now, 15 points, 16 points, they're killing it on the power play with added production. But I think on top of that, leadership, defensive play, setting the tone. He does it all. It's amazing. He's 35, right? People talk about guys in the league that are awesome, and he's now starting to be overlooked. I think this year he's making a statement with his play and his production right now that, is he in the Hart conversation maybe when it's all said and done? And we'll see. I think he might be.
Yeah, he's currently T6 in scoring in the league, tied with Pasternak. I mean, an unbelievable season so far for Sid. One thing we haven't talked about yet in the show that I'm happy to have you weigh in on. I don't know if you saw the mini drama with Zdeno Chara saying that the Bruins had heard the Canucks were practicing passing the Stanley Cup off before the Stanley Cup final in 2011. Here on Hockey Night in Canada, Kevin Bieksa went on and basically said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Which, really, really a great debate about respect and jinx and would this really thing sort of happen. Did you happen to hear about that little disagreement?
Bulletin board material we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally bulletin board material. And I thought in my head, I'm like, is this one of those Michael Jordan made up things? That he made that up to
I took that personally.
Picture it. And I took that personally. Yeah, that exact line. Because it sounds crazy to me. I'm a visual guy, so I close my eyes and I picture what this might look like. And, the guys have their gloves off and they're in practice and they're skating around with the Stanley Cup and kissing it and passing it in order. I honestly, I can't see that happening. Now, I wouldn't call Zdeno a liar. I wouldn't call him Zdeno a liar.
Man, that's one of the most credible guys in the last 20 years you'll ever find.
I'm sure he heard something from someone.
And I'm scared of him, too. I'm not going to lie. When I played against him, I poked him just enough that he didn't cross the line and rip my head off. But I find that hard to picture guys doing that, personally.
Well,
so I'm on BX's side with that one.
Do I think they all lined up at center ice and did it? No. But could there have been some sort of gesture that just subtly happened? And would it have been the worst thing in the world if it did? We're not talking about, guys doing something absolutely. We're not talking about sneaking into a dressing room and measuring someone's stick here. It's kind of goofy. The whole thing's kind of goofy to me. It's it's not that big of a deal, even if it happened just a little bit subtly, but it could have been enough to piss us off and then grow, this mystic story.
Right.
Yeah, this is an unbelievable story. Now, I have another idea in my head of what he might have saw, because I could picture myself being in the Stanley Cup final and practicing, and you're messing around after practice and you score and you pretend you're winning the cup,
right.
A goof around thing. It's kind of go along the lines. It happens when you're goofing around in practice here and there. And maybe he saw that. Maybe he saw something like that.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's all
maybe
purple
the
monkey dishwasher. Someone saw something, heard something, that got all twisted.
And Bieksa definitely wasn't out there because there's no way that hero was practicing during the Stanley Cup final. There's no way.
I think that's a very good point, and we've settled it. Kipper's like, why are we even talking about this? Who cares? I'm with you on that, Kip. Right?
Yeah, it's just. Oh, by the way, it happened 10 years ago.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Exactly.
So, where are you at on the Penguins? You know, do you want to get your thoughts on them before we let you go? Your thoughts on where they're at, where they're going? Is this a team that's going to be? Are they the real deal or no?
I think when I look at their team, I think this could be. I mean, when I see Malkin the way he has jumped this year, and the way Sid's playing, Tristan Jarry's game, where it's at and where it came from in kind of the middle to start of this season, and then like the guys that they have in their depth positions. Teddy Bluger's been huge. I mean, he's a fourth line centerman that has completely changed their penalty kill and made it unbelievable. Do they have the depth? Do they have the team? That's kind of what you look at. And I think this year could be one of those years for them, honestly. It's crazy to think that they went on I think it was an 8-game losing streak earlier this year and to say that. But with the way things have come together, if they can get that power play rolling hot like it should, because this is a goaltending special teams league, and they can get those to where it should be on the power play especially, this team could have the depth. And I'm wondering, here with like Ron Hextall, what he's going to be looking at, moving forward. Yes, Chris Letang's back after having a stroke. Is that an issue still? Will his health hold up? Unsure. Jeff Petrie just got hurt last game. He's out of lineup. How long? I'm unsure. But is there something to look at this group? And it's the oldest team in the league already, guys. It's only going to get older next year. Like, is this kind of a year when you look at it and go, okay, do we have the horses? Is it good enough now? And if so, what tweaks inside of that can we make come the second half of the season, seeing where we're at? Because I think a lot of people at the Pens, counted out even of the playoffs, just the playoffs. But they've won 5 in a row. They've been one of the hottest teams, in the last month or so. Jarry's back to all-star form, and things start to, have seemed to settle in with their lineup and their depth and roles and what they have in their lineup. So I think they're a dangerous team, guys. I do.
And they are better than Washington, are they not?
Yeah, I think they're better than Washington. I think they're probably quicker. I think they're deeper. And I think it's just a totally different story than what Washington has. And mind you, too, Washington did have, 8 guys out for an extended period of time with injuries here to start the season. So could that change? Maybe. But I just think they're in a much better position with the makeup of this team to being like a team that can make some noise in the playoffs.
All right, we're going to let you go so you can make your 5:15 meeting with your coaches, assistant coaches.
I got to get in the lab, boys. I got to get the whiteboard out. I got to, chalk talk time with Army.
Create some concepts.
And make the trainers nervous, too, Colby, while you're at it. Make your kids' trainers really nervous.
Oh, yeah. I got to come in there and just set the tone, eh, Kippy?
Exactly.
You got to let them know.
All right, good. Yep. Good luck on that, pal. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, good talking to you, boys.
Thanks for doing this.
Guys.
But I get, like...
How did we not ask him about Letang and strokes?
Well, he mentioned it, and he said, hopefully it works out. I don't think he knows much more than we know. That it's a doctor's call, and if he's comfortable enough to go back out there and doesn't feel like he's in jeopardy as the doctors don't, then who are we?
Fair enough.
And just one note on the Bieksa thing. I get it that, you don't want to hear somebody saying something that, affects you personally. Or, again, he mentioned, it is in many ways an attack on a character thing because that's insinuating that we thought we had something locked up and that we were arrogant and cocky enough and all of that.
Right.
I don't believe for 1 second it happened like that.
No.
And it's funny because when you do hear the story, it's either one or the other.
Right.
It's either it happened and it was really noticeable.
Whole team's out there practicing with an imaginary, in order.
We know that it didn't happen that way because I was there. I covered all the practices along with, all the rest of them, Kelly Rudy, Craig Simpson, Sportsnet, TSN. We were all there and we all covered everything. We didn't say anything. Could there have been some subtle things that might have happened that kind of insinuated that maybe they fantasize about something like that happening? Yeah, but big deal.
Well, it's insane to me to suggest that the Canucks practiced handing off the cup or whatever.
It's the situation that Colby laid out that I had talked about earlier this morning when we were talking about if we wanted to talk about it or not on the show. It's that someone saw somebody tuck one home past whoever was in net, and then he puts his hands up in the air and he pretends to pass it to somebody else. And over years and years of broken telephone, we get to the point where they talked about it.
It's probably an assistant equipment manager walking through the bowels of the arena and hears two of the captains saying, "Who'd you give it to first?" or something like that. And that's the end of the story. So, probably didn't need as much on this as we did.
That's fine.
I like it.
Listen,
it's a fun conversation to me.
Yeah.
They asked us if we could extend the story, maybe think about doing a documentary on it. We said no, but we'll give it 3 minutes on our show. How's that? And they were happy with that.
Yeah, we satisfied
we satisfied them.
quota.
Okay. Where do you want to go? Did you ask me about Eric Staal?
Well, he scored his first as a Florida Panther.
Yeah.
First goal, and he's been played 22 games.
Oh, my God. I know what's coming now. You're going to ask me about a Hall of Fame.
Correct. Is Eric Staal a Hall of Famer?
Yes. And the answer is no.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
I think he has the credentials, probably.
What are the credentials?
Two-time gold medalist for Canada.
Yeah,
Stanley Cup champion.
Kind of low on the totem pole.
Stanley Cup champion.
That's
1,300 games played, over 1,000 points. Oh, your mic's off, Kyper. I thought you were whispering.
Yeah. No, I mean, games played, in the last 3 or 4 years, you can always find some sucker team to take you on.
You can go play fourth line for the Leafs.
Those numbers aren't as important as they've been in the past.
But I tend to agree.
No major award, guys. No major award.
All are very good to me.
I will say, when we talk about these guys, I really feel like fame should play into this more, like your gut feeling on a guy. Did you ever feel like he was one of the best players in the league? Do you feel like he was someone who a team could drive a team by themselves? And that's why you've asked us about Phil Kessel, and I'm like, nah, he's never that for me. Eric Stahl's closer.
No, I disagree.
Yeah, Eric Stahl's closer for me. Big captain, leader type.
I'm with you.
Yeah. But it's not. I'm with you guys that it's not like a no-brainer to me.
And
I'd have to stack it up against other people.
Eric's brother,
Jordan.
You
Mark.
just mentioned it. Jordan.
There's another one too.
Jordan's a beast.
Jordan would have had an easier time getting into the Hall of Fame 15 years ago, right?
Doesn't Jordan have the record for shorthanded goals in the season? Jordan Staal?
I don't know.
But right now, it's just. The bar's so high right now for me.
Tough to get in.
That you need career years. You need to be stand out amongst your peers.
Yeah.
Maybe on more than one occasion, but just simply having a Stanley Cup and a gold medal for Eric Staal without ever leading the league in scoring or winning a major award, or
Chris Kunitz has a couple of gold medals.
It's hard.
Too.
It's hard to.
It is. So, yeah, the interesting conversation. I've had this conversation with Stewie on the air before we played with him, and Stewie's, of course, no brainer. So, your mileage may vary on him too. While we're on that expression.
Hold on a second here. I was way off on the shorthanded goals. Not even close.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know
the record.
It's 13 shorthanded goals.
Listen, you shut off YouTube today, so. I mean, we're not surprised on anything you do today.
I guess I remember him tying somebody because he had 7 in a season once.
Before Colby came around, we were talking about Michael Bunting, and I was talking about how important he is and scoring depth and why he's important. So I looked at Seattle's leading scorers because they claimed L.A. Tolvanen, 23 years old.
Who I would have said 2 years ago would have been one of their highest prospects.
Massive trade chip if he was traded then. He scored 11 goals in 40 games with Nashville the one year, and now is kind of not doing anything. So anyway, they claim him, and I look at Seattle's leading scorers, and it's like, basically Burakovsky is 27. After that, it's 23, 18, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, like depth scoring. The Leafs, it's unbelievable the drop off. You have the big four, and the bottom of that is Tavares at 28, and then it's Bunting at 20, and then it's Kerfoot at 12. 28, 20, 12. There's just no middle class of scoring on this team. And that's why Bunting's crucial. He is their middle class of scoring. Their guy that it can still chip in. Maybe it's 50 points a year, but that's massive to have. And I wonder what his next contract is going to look like if he's a 50-point guy this year. He's at 20 through 30 games. Is he Mikheyev? Is he now worth 4x4? Probably.
Yeah. And how's that working out for Vancouver?
I don't know. I literally don't know.
Yeah.
Is the answer.
Yeah.
I know that he had okay.
And I'm not saying I don't like him.
Yeah.
But this is the danger of getting caught up in the hype. If they think that they can get
the danger's letting him walk.
No, I think they'll let him walk like Mikheyev if it gets out of hand, and they'll just go find another one.
Mikheyev has 9 goals in 25 games this year,
which is pretty good.
That's good for him.
Really good.
Pretty good.
But
we assume that the cap might go up. I don't know. There's still talk. I'm not convinced that it's going to go up $3 or $4 million next year. And even if it does, you got too many guys that still got to eat it up.
It will be funny because Kerfoot's expiring, Kampf's expiring.
Yeah, and you're going to lose $3.5 million off of Kerfoot, but it's just not giving it to Bunting or Kampf. It's replacing Kerfoot.
Kerfoot, you have him. Like, he's almost certainly going to walk away, right? Because you can't trade him. Because who's trading for an expiring Kerfoot at 3.5, except for a team that's contending? No one who's not contending would want him.
Listen, if I feel like I need to be edgier in the playoffs, I'm still moving Kerfoot for another $3.5 million that might be a little edgier, and somebody else may need to get faster.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's not the worst idea.
It's still out there.
Yeah.
It should be still in play.
Kerfoot, what did I say? He's got 2 goals and 10 assists through 30 games.
But
if
Bunting ends up with another 40-plus points, you think he can get to 50?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Then that should garner $2.5, $3 million for sure on a long-term deal. I think the Leafs would probably entertain, $2.5, $3 million. If it's 3.5 or 4, no, see ya.
Yeah.
Bye.
Interesting. It's funny. He's been stapled to Austin Matthews here in Toronto. Like, my goodness, what a blessing that's been for his next paycheck. I got to believe he's the type of guy who's older. He's going to look to get all he can wherever he can get it. If you only have a chance at one real paycheck like this, 60. Like, if I'm Michael Bunting, I am going to play for Columbus next year.
So
pay me.
Just quickly, before we go to break, just a reminder that the Jays signed Chris Bassett to a 3-year contract. Tons of coverage coming up with Benny Boy and Blake Murphy.
So I'm
talk about this.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it right now because I got all my New York buddies sending me a note saying he choked when it counted.
Okay.
when the Mets needed him most, he choked when it counted.
All right. So
cool.
For more than that and more, tune into Fan Drive Time right after the break. Stick with us.
I'm not a baseball guy. I just report. Thanks for joining, everybody. Like I said, give us a rating and review if you get a chance. We'd love to hear from you. We're back tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody.
From the City News 6 City Traffic Center, I'm Jocelyn Graywall. This report is brought to you by CAA Group. If you're traveling north on the 427, just a heads up, north of Derry, the 2 center lanes are blocked off because of a crash causing heavy backup from Dixon. Another issue eastbound on the 401, the Port Union Collector to Express Transfer has a left lane blocked off. Also for a crash, and this one's causing a backup from approaching Port Union and the Collectors. CAA members, use the Shell app at participating stations for a chance to win one of 9 $5,000 gift cards. Details on the CAA website.
PC Optimum wins are some of my favorite messages. Here's another great one.
Hey, PC, this time of year...